Hey everybody, so it's the Family Matters commentary now, and I have a couple of special guests on this one. Introduce yourselves.
Hello, I am Charlie Callahan, a.k.a. Spazz Master, a.k.a. Markiplier sound-alike.
A.k.a. Conspiracy Guy in this particular episode.
Oh yeah.
And I'm David Gansel, a.k.a. the hand with the paper informing you of mass suicides, a.k.a. the guy who made the mistake of living in Florida for 2 years, so I drove you around a lot.
And held the camera for me in all the Florida shots in this retrospective, pretty much.
I did not have a Harriet Winslow to talk me out of living in Florida, so...
This opening montage, the song is "Who Did That to You" by John Legend from the Django Unchained soundtrack, which seemed like the perfect, because did I do that? Who did that to you? And I feel a little bad because the clips from that opening montage were all from the first season of Family Matters, because that's the only one that was available on Netflix on DVD at the time. So and at that point, Jaleel White hadn't gone full Urkel with it. His character was actually kind of vaguely tolerable, and he hadn't gone. And by the way, the reason you hear the Life of Brian music is because when we shot that, the paper just kind of had a natural glow to it because of the... So I just made a joke out of it.
As we were in front of the Splash statue.
Indeed, yes. The Splash statue, which totally did not lead to Splash Mountain.
Yes, of course.
Because the dorky man in that movie has an unreasonably hot girlfriend.
Yeah, which has no bearing, of course, on what we're watching now.
Absolutely not.
This was shot in the waiting area of the 50s Primetime Cafe while we were waiting for our table. I had a lot of shots on the shot list which were just location TBD, like wherever, like if we had a few minutes to kill, we just pick, okay, we'll shoot that here, why not?
This plot makes no damn sense.
It really doesn't, because they literally never give a reason why, I mean, I explained this, but... They never give a reason why Myra can't join them in Disney World. It's just a phony attempt to add drama.
Well, I guess the writing conflict was like, well, we can't just say she has a previous engagement because she does need to show up.
Right.
But then...
So they just lazily said, oh, she can't go, and that's it, you know?
Okay, so this Wilderness Lodge joke coming up.
Yes.
I released my video about
Is this not the worst green screen ever? Like I think I wanted to actually shoot that in the Wilderness Lodge, but we just ran out of time.
Well, or
we were too tired at the end of the day to go. It was right after we shot the Magic Kingdom stuff, and I think we were just too tired at the end of the day.
The day we shot the Magic Kingdom stuff was obviously not quite as long as the Epcot day, but it was still a really long day.
It was pretty long.
I don't think we rode anything the day we shot Magic.
The day we we rode a couple of things. The day we shot in Epcot, we only got to ride Spaceship Earth at the end of the day. So Charlie, this was shot in Riverside in Morgan's backyard.
Riverside.
There's a lot of cool stuff.
Find me a girlfriend, you stupid paper. Is a reference to Paper Man,
of course.
That line always kills me.
It's such a great non sequitur, and also I talked earlier about Urkel had a girlfriend and you didn't,
so it ties together on multiple levels.
It really does. So anyway, finish the hotel.
Wilderness Lodge thing.
Okay, so I released my video about the Disney World hotels, I think a week, like either before or a week after this video originally came out, and when I saw that place where your friend zone nature joke, I was like, damn it, that's literally the only thing that needed to be said about Wilderness Lodge. I could have saved a lot of time on the video.
Yeah, because they also have Fort Wilderness, which is the straight up campgrounds at Disney World.
And I have stayed there. It's pretty good.
Yeah, but if you don't want to actually go camping on your trip and you just want a nature themed hotel, so it's where you have friend zone nature.
Okay, so Lenny goes on to things like Spinal Tap and
Better Call Saul and Clue and all that. And Squiggy is doing this. He's this, and I shot this in a Mr. Toad car because he was the voice of one of the weasels in Roger Rabbit, and the weasels were also in Mr. Toad. So it all ties together. It's just subliminal.
The show is deep, man.
And this clip works so absurdly well right here, especially since you see his suit inside the retardus there. And a clip from Freaked, one of my favorite comedy movies.
A movie you show to all of your friends eventually. And we are all grateful for it.
Shot this in the queue of the Transformers ride at Universal Hollywood. And
before you worked there, Charlie.
Before I worked there. Geez, that was still back in 2013, wasn't it?
Yeah. This was released in 2013, so yeah. And
I
we
was
shot
still
the Florida
unemployed.
stuff in 2012,
No, I wasn't
I think.
unemployed.
And this is us at the table at 50's Primetime Cafe because...
Where we had some really good peanut butter and jelly milkshakes.
Indeed, yeah. Recommended.
Lucky.
Transmogrifier, a reference to Calvin and Hobbes, of
But
course.
of course. You got such great mileage out of the Stefan running gag with,
Yeah.
the SNL clips.
Yeah, I
coming up
just...
here.
It's like... And I don't know how many people today are really that familiar with Stefan anymore, because they kind of... Cause after Bill Hader left, they basically retired the character forever, but he was pretty big in 2013, back when you youngins don't remember. But yeah, he was an SNL character who appeared on Weekend Update, and was very funny.
You can't take a gun in Disneyland.
Yeah, that's true. and this was one of those, like, this was the most probably YouTube poopy episode I ever did. It was the one where I fit in the most just weird YouTube poop type jokes in the background, and maybe even a few too many of them, because I feel like this is the one episode, like, if the ABC retrospective has a weakness, I think it's that the jokes come so fast and furious that it's just one after the other, after the other, after the other, and they're not all as funny as they could be when it's that rapid fire. So maybe I should have let some of these jokes breathe a little. And here's the one clip of me with a gun in a park that I forgot to include in the montage in my recent State of the Parks episode about not being able to bring toy guns into Disney World anymore, or land. This is the first surprising amount of Reservoir Dogs references in this episode too. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's just the only thing I thought of when she said, "I just want you to sit here." It sounds so ominous.
So this is just one of many examples of the ABC sitcoms getting the stars of ABC sitcoms in front of a crowd at Disney World. Like, obviously, the first example was the Tanners in the Parade, which was actual footage of the cast actually in the parade.
Of course, and then the Jesse and the Rippers concert. And did they do it again after this? I don't remember.
Flash running down Main Street.
Oh yeah,
but,
there was,
but Flash,
yeah,
that's not even a beloved character.
We'll
We'll
discuss that when we get to Step by Step. But yeah, and I love this montage, and yes, I very deliberately put the BET logo in all these clips. And the Leave It to Beaver clip. I got to tell this story. I knew I wanted this specific clip because it was they changed the opening credits on Leave It to Beaver every season, and I knew I wanted that. I think it was from season 4 where he actually approached the camera, but that season was not available on DVD, and I couldn't find a good clip of it on YouTube, so I actually had to buy a Leave It to Beaver DVD set of like best of episodes, and that's my most elaborate catch-up montage ever. I decided, okay, this one I really got to go out for it.
What was the sound clip of Ketchup from?
Pulp Fiction of Uma Thurman.
Of course.
Hey, catch up. You know that joke there.
And recreating the just the lead-in for the next episode.
And that's the only commercial for one of these episodes I was able to find on YouTube.
Wow!
Like I couldn't find any. I was one that I was always searching for was. I wanted, because the part 2 of Step by Step aired the same night as Boy Meets World, and I was so hoping to find, tonight it's a double dose of Disney World or something. That would have been such a great clip, but I couldn't find it anywhere. To this day, every now and then I still look for it when I'm bored just to see if it's, just to see if maybe a time warp will accidentally open or something.
If somebody dug it out from their garage.
Exactly.
Ooga,
Wait, that's not
chaka,
Mission Breakout.
Ooga, chaka, ooga.
There's a lot of shots in this one where when I got back to California from Florida, I tried to make it look like it could possibly be Florida, like that shot in front of the Tower of Terror gift shop, and also a shot later in the Golden Horseshoe, were both shots where I tried to disguise a little the fact that I was not in Florida anymore. But as time went on, I just decided, nah, fuck it, I'm just coast hopping, whatever.
As days went by.
And that bit, I explained this in the season 2 outtake special, but there was a whole bit where I soaked myself in California to make it look like I had just pulled myself out of the World Showcase lagoon. Topical reference at the time for 2013. This would have been very shortly
Martin.
after the whole George Zimmerman thing.
Okay, this coming up here is just a perfect edit where you go from the Tower of Terror to the Die Hard footage. I love this so much.
This is my bad movie geek confession. I had never seen Die Hard until I decided to shoot this episode. And when I finally decided to watch it, all I could see was ways I could tie it into the Family Matters episode. It was just... So I did that all the time. And, Phil Bunny's cameo. This was back when we had a running gag that he would always complain about Florida. And I just told him to, just be on the phone just talking about whatever. And every take except the one I used was one where he was saying, so I said to the guy, hey, you know I know Lindsay Ellis, and blah, blah, blah. But then shortly before this episode came out, he and Lindsay Ellis apparently had some sort of falling out, and he was kicked off of Shea Apocalypse.
All that drama that happened.
And this bit with Garrett was shot in San Francisco while we were shooting All Critics Must Die, which still has not been released in any form.
Not as of this recording, no.
Yeah, not as of this recording. But it's just us goofing around and Garrett deciding to break out. The bees, yeah. Oh, and I got to tell you about this. You'll notice in that shot, next to the BET logo, there's a tiny circle that was kind of blurred out. That's the ABC Family logo. Originally, I got a torrent of this, or someone sent it to me that they got from a torrent of a rerun on ABC Family. And later, I got a better quality of it when it aired as a rerun on BET, and that's how I got most of it. But the ABC Family and BET edits cut different scenes for syndication. Huh. Like the ABC Family edit cut the ABC Family edit cut the bit at the end where the son finally shows up. And the BET edit cut that bit where they kiss, which was the foundation of the entire bees joke that later props up in Boy Meets World, so I couldn't lose that. So, that's so I had to combine the two and just kind of cover for it. And no one ever called me out on it, so I guess I got away with it.
We just passed you with the Urkelos box. I presume you had to get that on eBay.
That was eBay, and that was later used with...
Breakfast with Conspiracy,
which was actually an outtake, but we'll get to that in the Roseanne episode.
Yeah.
And this was back when there was a rumor floating around that Captain EO was about to close, but it turned out at the time not to be true, but about a year or so later it actually did close, so 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, I guess. And that might be...
That's another great edit.
That might have been crossing a line, because it's kind of making light of domestic violence, and that's not something I want to propagate.
Okay, so this coming up, you've mentioned before that One Man's Dream, the diorama of the Epcot film, that's your best use of a location.
Yeah.
This, I think, is your best use of an environment.
Possibly, yeah. I looked like such an idiot. They must have thought I was a special needs child or something, or because I just got these faces like, what the hell? And no one else was reacting nearly as... And this is clips, of course, of people reacting to Bin Laden's death.
Oh, God, that's right.
Yeah, and that's what Obama...
But at least the dancer got into it.
The monkey. I had to include the monkey.
How long did you have to wait for Soundsational, like before the parade started, to get the good spot?
An hour or so. It was. Oh, and this still was shot in my dad's house. That's my dad's steel guitar behind me. And he's actually playing steel guitar. I used a Robbie Folk song as the foundation for it, and then I had him play a little steel guitar over it, and that was nice. But yeah, getting back to the parade shot, I literally was that energetic throughout the entire 15 minutes of the parade because I didn't know how it would look, and for most of it you can't even really see the parade behind me all that well, so most of that footage was unusable. But I got that little bit, which was really cool.
And did they just teleport from the Italy pavilion to the UK pavilion?
UK, yeah,
because that's the gun. That's the gazebo.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe the only important thing is that we. Oh, and we just talked over the Winnie the Pooh thing earlier. Since doing this episode, I found out there is a reason why they put Pooh in the Canada pavilion at Epcot, because apparently Winnie the Pooh was named after a bear from the Winnipeg Zoo, and that's why it was named Winnie. And that's why A.A. Milne named the bear Winnie. So there is a tenuous Canadian connection, more so than any other Disney character that's marketable, I guess.
More so than Bambi.
Yeah, and England, England already has Mary Poppins and Alice in Wonderland, so I guess I can forgive them that.
When I lived in Florida, Winnie the Pooh was back to being a UK pavilion meet and greet character. I don't think there were any Canada meet and greet characters when I lived in
Not
Florida.
even Brother Bear or anything? Because that actually does take place in Canada.
Prehistoric Canada, but Canada nonetheless.
And you know how the kids are always lining up to meet the cast of Brother Bear.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they were in
California for a while.
That's
They
true.
were at the Redwood Creek Challenge Trail.
And this shot in... I decided I needed a mental breakdown at the end of this. It's... and another thing we talked over was the tag on my hand. That day, me and Morgan went to the park, and... Oh, there's Jill Barrup of Stuff We Like. Angry Jill is always a sight to see.
It's such a rarity, but it's always welcome.
Indeed. And so anyway, that day at the park, we got there and we found out, hey, annual pass holders, Eric Goldberg is doing a talk at the Disney at the Animation Pavilion in the theater that used to be Drawn to Animation, and we were like, well, we can't miss that. So we went there and they gave us those wristbands, but we couldn't take them off until that actual show. So that whole day we're getting shots all over the place in DCA, and I'm just trying to keep my left hand out of shot. But for that particular shot, I was like, screw it, let's make a joke out of it. I escaped from Gitmo, and I still have the tag.
Side note, perfect use of Garfunkel and Oates in this montage.
Yes, the instrumental version of You and Me and Steve. You know, for Steve Urkel, of course. And this, I think, you think this is a fair analysis of geek culture and how it was underdeveloped in the 80s and 90s, so people just
it was
made
certainly
fun
a
of the
carryover from like the mentality in the 80s.
Yeah, and gotta have a reference to this specific Sonic clip if you're talking about Jaleel White, of course.
Well, now geek culture has too much control, so it all comes full circle.
Yeah, geek culture, you could argue, ruined everything for everyone. Oh, and coming up, of course, is the Blues Brothers bit, which is I can't watch that scene from the Blues Brothers anymore without thinking, you are an embarrassment. And it just you know, this called for gospel music. We're just watching it at this point. It's
We are.
And this is the only time I think I did a credits fake out where I interrupted the credits for anything.
A mid-credit scene.
And fortunately, David Lander has enough blue in the background that I was able to chroma key him out and put him in there.
So coming up, there's that tag from the Family Matters episode that you talked about, where the son eventually ends up in Florida.
Yeah.
I think the version of the episode I saw before this episode was finished was the other cut that scene out. So I went my whole time just assuming, oh, well, the reason they had them drive was so they wouldn't have to fly the whole cast out to Florida.
Yeah, but then they flew them out to Florida for that bit at the end.
For
it's
one
like,
tiny little shot.
Maybe like he had another acting gig somewhere and could only be there for 1 day.
That can't possibly be true.
Yeah, probably not. But yeah, it's never explained in the episode why they're driving. I guess they just say, oh, well, they'll save money if they drive, you know. But why? I thought Urkel could bring whoever he wanted for free. It doesn't make any sense. And
none of the travel planning makes sense in this episode.
No, and none of them make sense in any of these episodes.
So perhaps it's not a documentary.
Ridiculous. Yeah, exactly.
Wait, was that a farming truck that pulled up in front of like the Wilderness Lodge?
Yeah, the idea is that they've hitched a ride on the back of a turnip truck or something. And
now there's the real Canada.
Yeah.
High East Coast work.
Yeah. And this, I had to reuse the "to be continued" from Full House over and over again, and
That's become a staple of yours.
every time. I'm never giving it up ever.
Nor should you.
It's just too awesome. And the semi-full version of Urkel Love and Heart there. And got to end with a Ghostbusters reference. And it occurred to me as I was wrapping up that I never actually played the Family Matters theme at any point in this episode, so I play it over the final logos
Right
and
there
stuff.
at the end.
And
you had to end with the Ghostbusters clip dubbed over the guy from Ghostbusters.
Indeed. I briefly considered, cutting to a clip of him saying, okay, Ghostbusters. Like, okay, this is the reference we're doing now. But I figured that was 6 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. So there's Family Matters for you, and we'll see you tomorrow for Roseanne. Roseanne!